Hi, I am Sierra Leone, and welcome to the Arts Club. I am here live in the Bassani Theater at the Dayton Metro Library. Oh, I'm so excited to have my friend Basine Blunt from WYSO here with me today, DJing and holding a high space. For this session today, you will need something to write with. Your Creativity at the Core booklet. I'm asking you to come with an open mind. Try to find a quiet space. And if you can't find a quiet space, headphones will work just fine. And if you do not have a booklet, no worries, because you can stop down at the library before our next section and pick one up or download it. Remember to stop on page 3 and claim your property by filling out all of the necessary information. Today, our time together will be spent exploring and strengthening your inner connection to your authentic voice, because that voice is important. That voice is all you have. It is your creative process, your creative space that is going to determine how you show up in whatever experience you're creating. And if you have a connection to that process, and your unique skill set will definitely support you in bringing it to life, drawing from your own imagination to develop, to create, and to discover. You know, majority of human beings will work for about 90,000 hours throughout their life. And knowing yourself will serve you, honoring your personal values, your commitments to school, home, extracurricular activities, whatever it is you're committed to, whatever it is you're doing. If you put yourself in it, you'll enjoy it. And so today's session is focused on you taking the time to create. It starts now. This topic itself is so broad, so we're going to focus on the core of creativity. Before we get started, I think it would be best if we just took a moment to be mindful, took a moment to center ourselves. So I'm going to ask you if we could bring the music down a little, just find our center. You have everything you need. You have something to write with. You have your booklet. You may have your headphones on. And I want for you to take a deep breath, a really deep breath. Oh, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Do you feel yourself centered, seated, one with this present moment? I would like for you to feel your feet in your shoes, or just feel your feet on the ground, or rubbing against a cover, or wherever you're sitting. Now that you can feel your feet, I would like for you to just feel your legs, be in your body, be present in this moment. And as you're being present, you feel your legs, you feel your thighs, your back, you're supported. That's what we want in this creative process. We want to feel supported. You feel your torso, your power, and your solar plexus. You are centered. You are present. You are ready to dive right into your inner creativity and do exactly what it is that you love. And that is being you. So no matter what you're creating, how you're creating, you always need to find a way to find your center. Are you here? Do you hear your heart beating? I want you to feel that positive energy flowing right up through your throat, past your amygdalas, straight through you. You are centered. all four directions, you are centered and present. And now that we are centered and present, and we've taken a moment to be mindful, I want to ensure that we all understand that with fun also comes responsibility. And here today during Arts Club, I'm going to need for you to do your part. I'm going to need for you to be aware that creativity can be learned. That's going to be your motivation. If you haven't felt creative, if you haven't felt a connection, if you haven't felt a oneness with creating anything, I want you to know that you can learn. Remember your self-expression. You're free to express yourself. Your responsibility is to stay true to yourself as well. I'm going to need for you to acknowledge your creativity. Because when you acknowledge your creativity, you allow yourself to be a creative thinker. Your thoughts matter. I want you to take action right now in supporting yourself. And the way you do this is accepting that you can't get this wrong. You can't get this process wrong. It's not possible. You're the expert on you. I want to make sure that you don't judge yourself or anyone else. Remain open to your unique approach, your unique experiences. And all of this will support you in strengthening and developing your knowledge in whatever discipline you're interested in. I'm going to ask you, I want you to take a look at this image. And now that we know that time is the irreversible order of things, I'm going to ask you to take a look at this image. Be present. Stay with me. This is an image of trail mix spilt all over the floor. I'm asking you, is this art or is this a mess? If you have your booklets and something to write with, take a moment to write your thoughts down about this image. What do you see? What do you feel? What's coming up for you? Is it intentional or is it a mess? You have 30 seconds. What do you see? This image was actually created from an experience that happened. Some creative projects are temporary, but the skills that you learn along the way are permanent. How you respond to the opportunity matters. It matters. That will support you in being creative every single step of the way, realizing that in most cases, it's all art. If you have ever built a snowman, created a holiday picture made with leaves, if you've ever shifted the form of water to ice, you've already started to develop this skill. Since it was already spilt on the floor, I thought to myself, what could I do with this? After I got over my frustration, I was able to take a mindful moment. I didn't get upset with myself after I initially said, I made a mess. I took that moment not to judge myself, to activate my skill set. I turned within and I took my creative process to support me, to take something that was an accidental mess and turn it into creativity. We created an arrow. We created an art with an apple, and you have an apple poem in your booklet. We also created a T-Rex. It was my son and I. The image may be temporary, but the skill set, the muscles you develop from realizing that when you make a mistake or when you make art, it can be from something that was a mistake. It can be from something temporary. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling? Let's take a moment before we move forward to just keep breathing. I know you had your thoughts about those images. You may have been thinking, this is a mess, I don't want to clean it up, or I have nothing to eat now. I've spilled my snack. Whatever you're thinking. Nonetheless, know that with each experience, you have the opportunity to see it differently. That is what honoring the creative process is. Seeing it differently, knowing that you can shift your perspective and get something from it. Even though I had to clean that mess up, I have these beautiful images to take with me along the way. So at this time, we're going to stretch. We're going to take a moment to stretch our arms out, because anytime we want to recenter ourselves, we stretch. We take a deep breath. And let's move forward together. If you could, for me, turn to page 20 in your booklets. And I would like to read a poem, The Rose That Grew from Concrete, by the late Tupac Shakur. Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete, providing nature's law is wrong? It learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dream, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else ever cared. In this particular piece, Tupac is using personification. He's giving the rose, an inanimate object, human characteristics like learning to walk without feet. Before taking our next step into creative discovery, I want us to really look at this piece. I want you to look in your booklet, and you'll see there that what we're learning in a creative process and with the creative process is that you cannot change. If you're going to borrow or use someone else's work, you cannot change their words. So there is a space for you to edit and correct on the first line. And wherever you see the word to, you know that should be the number 2 and not T-O. It is very important that we understand that in the creative process, when we're creating for ourselves and we're wanting other people to use our work, changing anything violates the creative meaning of the person experience. I bring this poem up and bring it to your attention, most importantly for me, because it is key in knowing yourself. No matter what it was that Tupac was experiencing, he realized that he never gave up on his dream. No matter what people thought of him, no matter how they saw him, he knew who he was. And that was his guiding light. He never compromised that. And so I'm asking you to just take a moment right now to ask yourself, what do you value? Because knowing what you value will support you in your creative process and developing a creative experience. Is it family? Is it culture? Is it friendship? Is it your freedom? What's important to you? Now that you've given that some thought, It is that realization and knowing that it doesn't matter what your discipline is in. It doesn't matter if you're writing poetry, if you're playing an instrument, if you're making visual art, if you're doing performance art. It doesn't matter the genre. You have to take the time to understand what it is that you enjoy about creating. We get to take a deeper dive and tap into our creativity. So at this time, I'm going to ask for you to turn to page 9 in your booklet. So if you could turn to page 9, there you will see something entitled the to-do list. Now I'm going to give you about 60 seconds in that to-do list to go ahead and write down everything that's going on with you. It could be schoolwork, it could be homework, it could be cleaning. It does not matter what you need to do. I want you to just write it all out right now. Clear your mind, clear space for yourself. 60 seconds, go. Now that you have freed up some space in your mind and in your heart, I'm going to want for you to inhale 4 counts and exhale 4 counts. The reason we want to create a to-do list, there are all sorts of lists you can create. This is a perfect prompt for you. You can have a list where you're writing affirmations. You can have a list where you're writing a success list. You can write a self-esteem list, a self-appreciation list. But this list is very important because we're doing a brain dump. And when you're doing that brain dump, you're creating a space for yourself. You're creating a beautiful space for yourself to go ahead and create something else. And so in order for us to access creativity, not only do we need a clear, quiet space, not only do we need to center ourselves and take a breath, we also need to clear our minds. And so at this time, if you could please turn to page 11. This is your writing prompt section. And so I'm going to give you 4 minutes. Now that you know exactly what you value because you thought of it, now that you've taken the time to look at your to-do list and to write everything down that you could quickly jot down in those 60 seconds, I want you to go ahead at this point in time and turn to page 11 in your booklet, and I would like for you to write down or name something that you would never compromise on. Something that you would never compromise. And then I want you to tell us why. So you have 4 minutes. Basim, if you could please give us some beautiful jams here for the students to write to, a beautiful, peaceful vibe, for them to write down things that they would never compromise on. Flow into a few vibes there, and the time starts now. If you're feeling stuck, I want you to consider a few things if you're feeling a little stuck. But if you're flowing, wonderful, I want you to keep going. But if you're feeling like you are having a challenge with tapping into something that you're not willing to compromise on, I want you to ask yourself, what inspires me? What drains my energy? What energizes me to complete my work or complete a task? What are some things that I feel along the way that I want to hold on to? What are some experiences that I've had that I just want to make sure that are always with me? And those are things that will contribute to your creative process. You know, the path of creativity is different every single time we travel it. And that is why it's important that you strengthen the number one principle, the principle of knowing yourself. Remember that we all are a work in progress, and honing your skills is something that you'll do one step at a time. Here are a few ways that you can access your creativity, ways for you to center yourself, to be in alignment. You could always meditate. That's very powerful. When you meditate, you are centering yourself. It's not mindfulness. It's not being in the present moment. In meditation, you are releasing all thought. And while releasing those thoughts, you're creating a space. You're creating a space for you to hear your inner voice. So that is one powerful approach. If you choose to just drink a glass of water, sometimes it's just that simple. You need to get up, you need to walk away from the space, and you can just get a glass of water, center yourself. That could be the way into your creativity. You may decide to put on music. We've had Basim here with us all morning, and we're just absolutely delighted. And that music has created a vibration for me to feel good about connecting with you. It is so empowering and so powerful. Sometimes you'll put on a particular garb or a particular style of clothing or bracelet. You may put on all sorts of things if you would like to. Your choice. And every time you go to create, you put that on. We're going to bring the music down just a little. Here, if we could, we're going to look at lavender or smelling anything. You may want to smell something for your creative experience. It could be anything. You may love the smell of fresh flowers. There may be a particular soap that you use, but you may want to find something to smell. And when you smell it, it takes you right to your creative center. Here, some folks, they love to read. We're here in the library, and I know I love to read. And so you may want to sit down and read a few affirmations. You may have your favorite passage from a particular book, and that's always supportive as well. Sometimes you may want to just go ahead and do a few jumping jacks, a few push-ups, or just do an entire workout, go for a walk or something. And going for a walk, it allows you to re-center and reconnect with the rhythm of nature. And that is what we always want to be, is connected and in sync with our own natural rhythm. And then lastly, if you have the time, if you have the energy, if you have the money, you can choose to burn a candle. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll get a candle that is artificial and that light can stay on. It's ran with battery, but it's symbolic of me turning on my light, turning on my inner light, being connected to who I am as a person, as a whole person, as someone who wants to know myself. So in whatever it is I'm creating, I'm a part of that. You are a part of your creation. It does not matter. The creative process is unique unto itself always. But today, I wanted to share a few tips, a few prompts, a poem or two that's expressing what it means to be connected to yourself. So now you know exactly what it is that you should be focused, centered in, and what can get you there. And so I'm glad we can share those tips. Lastly, before we go, our word of the day is choice, because that is what you did. You made the choice. You chose to do it differently today. You made it to Arts Club, and it was absolutely exciting and delightful to have you here with us. And so you decided on a course of action. Show up today for Arts Club. You were aware of your individual rights to choose. You made that choice to be present with us today. New conscious choices can override old patterns and beliefs. That is very important that you understand that. So right when you made the decision to participate in Arts Club today, whatever other choices you had made about creativity, whatever other thoughts you had about the creative process, you released those. And so you could be fully present in this moment. And lastly, you did not do this one, which I prize you and I'm so excited, which was that you did not, so some people in worst case scenarios, we don't choose at all. And so we choose by default. And so I'm so delighted today you chose not to choose by default. You were present, you were powerful, and continued to make the choices in your life to impact what's next for you as an artist and as a human being. Thank you. Join us again next week for Arts Club here with the Dayton Metro Library. Thank you. I am Sierra Leone, and this is my friend Basine Blunt with WYSO.